Greetings from Barefoot Law. My name is Dorcas Mwebaza, and as we commemorate the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence against women and girls, what type of legal intervention is there? I know for a fact our lawyers maybe can shed some more light on this.
Before you get into legal, it's firstly important to identify what we call perpetrators, the people who are actually doing these things. It's usually very easy to identify a victim, someone who's suffering with a certain form of violence, but it's that much harder, especially within a family, to know who is responsible for this issue. She mentioned something that was critical. Look, if you don't give this time, you will just say the child is being moody, or that person is being that moody, or the other kind of thing, and it will never quite figure that there's a reason behind that kind of conduct. In Uganda, it's taken a while, but we do have a law. It's the Domestic Violence Prevention Act. I love that law has tried to break down what violence really is. One of the things that we take for granted, not just as men, but all of us in this country, is when it's something we normally talk about with Penny. When I ask you how many people do you have at home, you say, oh, I have 2 kids and my husband or my wife. So you go, we're 4. So, sure, somebody who helps you at home.
Helper.
And say, oh yeah, and we also, some people actually will say, oh, we are 3 plus a house help. Housemaid. Like,
that's so true.
We are human and an extra. Now, one thing I love about this new law is when it talks about domestic violence and violence in general, it does not restrict itself to
just you and your family
members. Everyone in a domestic setting is capable of suffering, capable of being a victim.
Very true.
Even a visiting cousin.
Yes, definitely. So it's not enough for you to say, I only abuse the house help. No, the law is going to take care of you because you are doing something to somebody in a domestic setting. Now, one of the things that I have an issue with, I grew up in an extended family. We had a sister or a brother throughout all the years. But one of the things that I think we take for granted is having uncles. Like an uncle, there's an uncle, even the ones who actually not relatives are uncles. They tend to bring a lot of the violence to our homes. So when it's a child, they may not be able to report themselves, but the law says that when you harm a child in any of these forms of violence, the punishment that you're going to get is going to be that much more grave. That's why it was good that the penal code, which is the criminal law of a country, was amended to make allowance for what we call aggravated defilement. Because it's not going to be enough to say you defiled a child, you sexually exposed. I don't know if everyone gets Luganda.
Yes.
Luganda has a way it portrays defilement that is unique. It's not in every language, but it makes you understand the gravity of what has happened to a child. The statement is, Otunuzo omwana mu mbuga za stand. I don't know if you guys understand what that is.
You have killed a child's innocence.
Yes,
exactly.
Wow.
You've killed a child's innocence.
Now, very few languages will do that, but it has been reflected in the law. That's why it's aggravated defilement. And if you're guilty of aggravated defilement, hell, you're going for life. I will not go about the merits of death and whatever, but it's life. Now, when you are a person who has a position of responsibility or care towards that child, that punishment is going to be that much more grave, making it aggravated defilement. That's when we're going to talk about people like family members, relatives, and then people like teachers, religious leaders, even community heads who a child should look up to. You have abused a trust. And these are punishments that I think exist, but they need to be dealt with a little bit more. Unfortunately, because we're dealing with children in most of these instances, it's very hard for them to know the things they should and should not do when these things happen. I've heard of instances where a parent will say, I was bathing my child, she was wincing. Or there was blood. There was this. Or I got back tired, I asked umwana yanabye, and they say, oh yeah, she bathed, and they go to bed. And then it's a few days later that you say, oh, children do not have the ability to speak up for themselves. So it's imperative that the law is supported by us, the family members, and us, the communities, to make sure that the law does not just sit there idle. It can't help these children. So children will
The law
not
comes
know.
into play once a matter has been
Has been
reported.
reported.
So
Yes.
the goal for us is to make sure there is someone who can report. We may not say certain things to children, but they will talk to an adult. We need to encourage them to talk to an adult. But as adults who are going to help these children find justice,
As concern for the girl child, need to come
Unite.
in and unite. Just as the theme has said, detoxifying treatment.
Yes,
To mention
yes,
but a few. If these are put into play, I believe we can be able to really make sure that these children and the women
supported.
themselves are supported.